Okay, I'll speak to you soon. Oh. Recently, there was a question raised about healing. And the question was, what is the correct way I should heal and work with others? Because as soon as I find another person that is in need, with a little bit of knowledge and hindsight, I realize that I I cannot actually heal another person. Should I actually go and do what needs to be done for them? Should I ask them to come and sit in meditation? Should I spend time of removing this desire that is in my mind to help others? How is the best way to heal other people? The human body and the human mind can not undertake any healing work. The work must be done external to body and mind, at a far deeper level that is far more efficient and effective. It is far better for one who wishes to heal to sit and hold the spirit light, the spirit truth, and let others come and take what they want from that light. To sit in presence and let them draw or take either love or knowledge, courage, peace, determination, effectiveness, presence. All of this exists when the true healer sits in the presence of spirit. And therefore, anyone who is in need may draw from that light. And it must be effective, so the healer must be efficient at sitting with spirit and in spirit light themselves. It must be given freely, at times without them even knowing. They just sit and offer light to all. Rather like the sun that keeps shining, whether there's clouds or no clouds, whether a person is in need or not, but when they most require a connection to their truth. So the true healing takes place when the person is holding the connection to spirit. And you should look at another healer, one professing to give off these qualities of healing, and see if they can hold the light and the truth. And if you just look into their being, you see a presence. You cannot use your eyes with this, but rather your heart. And the heart will reach and touch the light of the light bearer. And for a few short moments, there is the beauty of the eternal self that is given freely from one to another. So if you are requiring healing yourself, of your body or your mind, then the healing must take place by holding light and letting the light shine brightly into the mind and then into the body. And then the sun is manifest in the plants. And therefore, nature is the natural healer, because it manifests light in all ways. It holds truth. And only requires more light, which it then freely gives to the world. So as we listen to the healing list of names soon, hold your own presence of light and hold all the names that are mentioned in that light. Let them take what they need and know you will never be depleted, as the eternal light will never run dry. So sit with me with these names. If you are listening to the recording, sit with me with these names. And together, let's commune in the light. And all beings become one for a brief time. So may I have the healing list of names now, please, Brandon?
Pia, Denise Wareham, Stephen Potter, Amanda, Amanda Honey and family, Ross, Anne Marie Lynch, Petra R, Laura, Carrie G, Christine Wilden, Deborah, Teresa, Ace, Baby Bay, Sandy, Brody, Nala, Charlie, PK, Lola, Casper, Flash, Jasmine and Ben and Jonah. Thank you.
As you hold the light for others, you hold the light for yourself. And healing will stay with you for so long as you hold the light truly within your being. Now, as promised in last week, I would extend the time for questions. And you may ask any question you wish. If it is useful to others, that would be a preference. So as you ask your question, hold your light around that question. And feel the answer, and do not just hear an answer. Let it be a signpost towards the light, to your spiritual truth, and find your true home there. So, Brandon, may I have the first question, please?
Yes. So our second question is on healing. So let me move this question up first, since it ties into what you had just spoken of. So Dave, please ask your question, and then we will go to Christina next.
Yeah, I actually wrote the question before I knew the subject of the talk. When operating as a healing channel, and we ask Spirit for healing for a specific person, is it sufficient to ask just once, or repeat the process on a daily or weekly basis?
The truth must be done by you holding your light in your own presence. And if you were to bring that person just one time into that healing light, that will be sufficient for the person to undergo all healing required. Many people will hold a name time and time again, not necessarily to send additional healing, but to hold them constantly in the light, as some may drift away and get caught in times of difficulty or pain. So hold them in the light. And as far as you're concerned as the healer, that is sufficient. From the client's point of view, it is more important that they come to the light as well. As together, when both meet in the light, there is unity. And the source of all healing is beyond body and mind at soul level. So therefore, meeting together meets both participants in the correct position. You can just be in the light yourself, and you will hold it and you will shine. But if the other meets you there, then they too will touch the light and hold the light for themselves, and therefore will know the pathway to their own healing. So by you showing them the way, you will have taught them, or you will have shown them how to light their own candle. If you do not have the ability to hold light, then healing will be diminished. It can still work, but it will not be as effective if you become the truth. So when you meet someone who holds the truth, or the light if you prefer, there is a certain drawing towards them. And you feel a presence or a stability. But at times you may just want to sit in their company. At times when it feels rich and true. But you could never describe it. At best, it's warm and comfortable. But it is a presence far greater than any words will ever touch. So the answer to your question is you may do it just once. But the important part is the other comes to meet you. But you must practice holding the light. Holding the light without expectations or even a target for it is the practice.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Brandon.
Yes. Next question goes to Christina.
Hi, Ignatius.
Okay.
Um, my question had to do these series of chats you've been doing. You've been talking about freeing the mind and then working with Kundalini energy. And I was just curious if you could potentially explain the difference in both, because I guess I've just been confused because when I went to go visit Mark, he was teaching me meditation and how to quiet the mind, but then I feel like I've had this interest pop up with the Kundalini. So I find it interesting that your talks have been hitting on both. So is one more awakening energy, but then it seems like they both get to the same place, but in opposite ways. I just don't know if I understand.
All of the chakra system and all of the Kundalini process is a process that occurs within the mind, but it is felt within the body. So the body experiences, mind allows it. So the process of allowing a Kundalini awakening is opening the channels to what is available naturally within the base of the mind. The energy is allowed to flow from spirit into matter and from matter into spirit. What is blocking the flow of energy or minimizing the flow of energy are mind's thoughts and beliefs. These are often called koshas. They are natural blocks that one puts in place as one incarnates into the world, and then are affirmed or made stronger, but they are still within the mind. So when you free the mind and let the mind become open, there can be a very natural rise of energy which rises from the source of matter into the unity within the soul self or spirit. And therefore this gives a mind disturbance, which then may agitate the body. So if you think of energy descending from spirit into matter, it is then stored within matter as a vibrational level. Here it is represented by being stored at the base of the spine. By freeing the blocks, the energy is allowed to flow very naturally back into spirit. So energy is just stored, almost trapped, and soon can be released. So when one sits, for example, looking at a sunset, then there is quite a large extent, or possibility, I should say, a large possibility that one would feel a natural flow of union between the physical and the non-physical. And that flow of union then gets expressed as beauty. It's quite a sattvic light. And that flow starts to rise up, and one can feel immense joy and love when looking at a sunset. But alas, looking at a sunset seems to be a short-lived experience. And one's energy then is controlled once more and limited by various beliefs within the mind. And energy then goes from sattvic to rajasic to tamasic as it becomes denser and eventually once more stored in its unnatural home at the base of the spine. So energy is always trying to go home, or this energy. It has a limit or a cap put on it. But the cap is only thoughts and beliefs. So when the mind becomes purer, those thoughts, beliefs disappear. And the potential for the rising energy becomes far stronger. Now, when one truly experiences a Kundalini awakening, it can rush into the mind and activate all different levels of the mind. The awareness is scattered. The heart center is wide open. The ability of knowledge is broad. The sense of the true self and not the false self becomes available. And there is a tinge of blue to this, because the highest vibration within the mind will have a blue connection, which is the life force or spiritual self. So on birth, this life force descends from spirit, if you would like, into man. And on awakening or on death, at times in meditation, that blue light rises to the surface and can be seen by the eyes at times, but most frequently through the clairvoyant eyes. So if you want, you could say a Kundalini energy is the removal of blocks between the physical and spiritual, and a flow that will then start to occur. And that flow would be very natural. The energy arrives at birth and disappears at death, or leaves the body at death. So if you were to sit with energy of the earth and just sit at an appropriate place, what feels right for you as an individual, one can start to get a sense of the energy that is stored in the earth. Obviously not the full amount, but a sense of perception of it. But one must be very attuned to this, and one must practice. And when you feel that connection, it will give you a sense of it flowing unencumbered or with difficulty. And people are, again, with practice, or can be, quite attuned to the health of the earth by feeling the way energy flows. Now, all of the discussion or answer to your question has been on the basis that this is the opening of mind. When the mind is open, energy flows which must at first agitate mind and heart and body. If you would like to go further and deeper, then you must go beyond body, mind, and heart. And then you will see that the flow of energy is just the truth. As both consciousness and life force must come together in the physical body, or for the physical body to be animated. The physical body just possessing life force will not undertake much work that is useful to the soul. So the soul must bring its awareness to that body and watch the events which are taking place. So the way backwards is to clarify mind, sit in the pure awareness, and then the flow is immense and magnified rather than limited to what a body can handle. Also think of the analogy of the clear diamond. Energy is wishing to flow, but there is a block. The removal of one block reveals another and then another. When one is clear, the energy will flow purely. And it will flow in a way that it is needed. And the life force, the spiritual self, will become manifest with the world. And for a while, the two become one. Until one wishes to turn off that light and the blocks are reformed. So your question, in effect, is very similar to the answer on healing energy. When you can sit purely with an open mind and an open heart, then the light just shines through you. And one is then the clear diamond. If one brings their attention to a person, a place, or an object, then that energy is directed to a certain area. So the flow of energy in Kundalini, in essence, is the connection to being the diamond and the flow of truth. Agitating mind and heart and body. So the secret to each of the answers so far is to be the truth and the light. Now the ancients, the mystics, the sages, the wise ones, they sat in communion with the light. They called it many different names. But they knew they had access to a source of power, a source of energy that was far beyond anything man could create. And it was available at the tip of one's finger. And it both created life and took away life. As it withdrew its attention from the physical form or gave attention to a physical form. In times to come, man will eventually know how to access this energy one more time. And it will use that energy in the correct way. There is already research underway in this matter. Just the missing pieces are not quite together yet. So confusion can lie when one talks about Kundalini energy, when one thinks of body and mind. But when one thinks of the energy of light, then it's just an allowance of light to flow through. And it's best done when one is open and clear. So what is the best way to make yourself open and clear? Well, one way, of course, is meditation. Meditation will find you the path, but when you get to the end result, meditation will no longer be required. But one must find their way first. I trust that helps your question. Brandon, is there another question, please?
Yes, certainly. Petra, you're up.
Yes, hello, Ignatius. It was stated in a book that I am reading that one cannot be too selfish, meaning we prioritize ourselves first, love ourselves first before loving others. How does this relate to narcissists? I have always thought they are too selfish.
When one is true to oneself, one begins a process of observing oneself. Not for the point of how this can be controlled or manipulated, but by looking within and seeing that the work is only internal. And when one looks at this and finds that the work can only be internal, then it is looking at the self all the time. So then eventually object and subject become one as the two merge together. But one who is narcissist, in essence, is looking outwards, as they have a fear of lack or depletion and want to add as much as possible to the empty space that they feel inside. So the narcissist always tries to acquire or control, and always sees the external world as the source of their happiness, and therefore says, look how good I am. Many other words. They are asking for love at this stage, and they are asking the world to match that opinion of themselves. And therefore, they attach to ones who are willing to give them that impression of a superior self by saying just the right words or doing the right action. And they look for those who will worship them or worship their needs and fulfill what is empty. But the one who looks inside does not find emptiness, but eventually finds fullness. Where one sees fear and lack, the other sees wholeness and love. And eventually will find all other beings as they step into the unification. So you see, both run a very tight border between the two. Both come to a point of emptiness that is hollow. But the selfish or the spiritual will see this as its truth. But the narcissist seeks to fill the hole. So hence you then get a little bit of white in the black and a little bit of black in the white. So then one who is empathic is drawn to the narcissist and the narcissist to the empath. Because both start at the same point. They just try to complete the lack in two different ways. So the narcissist should let go rather than holding on, should give rather than acquire, should be free rather than bound by the way the world sees them. But many times there comes a time in the narcissist's life where they achieve what they think they should achieve. And for a brief moment, there is peace. Soon to be covered once more by a desire to be fulfilled. So the empath will sit in that peace and know that that is the answer, where the narcissist goes once more into the world to acquire, to control, to demand, to seek satisfaction at the expense of anyone else if need be. So then becomes the close border of love and fear. Both are hoping for love, but the empath first goes in before going out, and the narcissist avoids that emptiness and tries to fill it up. So they rarely touch love. But their driving force is the completion of what is missing, because they too remember that love is there. But they will never find it in the external world. So one who is not narcissistic, they do not shout, they do not demand, they do not control. They just give their light away. And one who is narcissistic, who finds someone who is holding the light, demands more and more of it. And if the empath then holding that light is not of sufficient strength, they will give of themselves so much that their light then becomes diminished by the dark of the other. And they're swallowed up into a relationship or friendship. But what they have to do, and it occurs for most, is they remember their light once more. And they have to reaffirm that light. And it becomes alien and difficult for them as they're so surrounded by the darkness. But they must be true to the light, and eventually the light becomes more true than the dark. And they embody that light once more. And the narcissist becomes challenged because they hold what the narcissist wants. And the narcissist uses all tricks that he can think of. But when one has lost light and refound it, the path is set and the empath must move forward with the light, vowing never to return. But knowing what the dark needs most is light. So the word selfish is perhaps along the right track. But it is not selfish as in for my needs, but it is just selfish towards what is true. And once it's found, it's taken into the world. But the dark will always try to acquire it. And will resent the other if they carry on walking away with the light that the narcissist so thinks is external. So again, the true answer is just be the light yourself. It will be challenging at times, but what more would you want? The dark will attempt to smother you. Do not let it happen. Honor the light. Let that be true. And true for you and true for all. And the light will shine into the world. The light is the truth. Thank you. I hope that helps.
Beautiful.
Brandon, is there another question?
Yes. Amanda, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, Ignatius. Thank you so much for what you shared with Dave last week. I had a follow-up question. Your suggestion to Dave to meditate and then play music as a vehicle to let spirit express made me wonder for myself, if I was to do a similar exercise. I already do the twice a day meditation, but could you give me insight into which creative modality you can see spirit most easily expressing through me at my current level of development? Like, is it music? Is it writing? Is it painting? Or am I simply just too much in my physical chakras to have that happen yet? And I accept whatever truth you may share.
Thank you. When one finds the true connection of their spiritual self, then one must surrender their self to that spiritual form or spiritual essence. And therefore, let that essence then be influential or even controlling of one's life. Influential as in inspiring, controlling as in not my will, but thy will. So often when one is finding this source of light, one then wants to find out how to use this light most effectively. The light itself, why would it be limited to one particular thing? It can work in many different ways. And in fact, it is the source of all things and all action, because it shines through a person with the expression of love and connection. It shines outwards and pulls people towards it. Now, for you, the expression of your light can come through you in many different forms: writing, talking, music, and other forms. It does not need to be limited. The important part would be is rather than trying to think, should I write, paint, or express music? The important part is honor that connection first. So hold the light and let it come out in music. Hold the light and let it come out in writing. Hold the light and let it come out in your connections to others. Light is not meant to be turned on and turned off, as in just at times of writing. It is permanent. And therefore the expression of light can also be permanent. If one wants to only use it in one way, then of course it is then turning on the light in writing, turning it off at the end of there, and going about, let's say, 23 hours of not having light. Why not have the whole expression of yourself being embodied by the light, or you embodying the light? So my suggestion is, before you do any activity, connect to the light. And therefore, it will be constant in your day. And the more you set a habit of that, the less you'll have to set the structure of order, of remembering. So do not limit it to just one expression. Let it be the whole of your day, while you are awake and while you are asleep. Let them all be a flow of light. And then whether you write or sing or paint, it does not matter. So it's not to be turned on and off. It is just to be expressed. Do you understand, Amanda?
I do. And that's just such a wonderful thing for me to leave with. I really appreciate it.
Yes. So a little exercise for you to try is, let us say you go from one activity to another. In that gap between activities, make sure there is a gap. And in that brief time, make sure the light is within you. It can't be anything else. It has to be within you. But it must come through you. And when it does, all speech, all action, all non-action, all silence are all that expression. And if you watch yourself, you'll see there are times when you are connected and times when you are not. So a little bit of awareness will reaffirm the link. You see, in essence, what we are saying is spirituality and spiritual expression is not 9 till 5. And this is a mistake many people make. True spirituality is every second of every day. If one is just limited from 9 until 5, or from 1 hour and then another hour later, then that is not true spiritual connection. It may be fine during those limited hours, but why limit it there? Don't just express it through your work, express it through your friendships and relationships and family time, times in your peace, times while you cook or exercise, times when you're with the dog or the cat. Why should they miss out? So this is how people make a mistake and become spiritual egotistical and just work for just set times, where the truth is, it is always and forever. You have this ability, my dear. You have this ability. And you would already know that your connections to other people as you talk to them is becoming richer in heart. Or you just know. And they are drawn to what you know. And the way you feel. And the way your presence just seems to be comforting. So the writing or the music can be a good introduction. If you can find it at that point, well, extend. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you so much.
Brandon, is there time for another question?
Yeah, so I think we can squeeze just one more quick one. Les, you had a question? Unless you're muted, hold on.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I've heard the terminology used recently as the medium, and Spirit refers to them as a lighthouse. Could you explain what the lighthouse means and what's the attributes of the mediums that are called by this terminology?
Well, in essence, they are just the channel of the light. And they sit holding light and willing to let the light shine into different parts of the world. So they become a call to others, where the physical sense of a lighthouse is a warning of danger. The spiritual sense of the lighthouse is a warning or a desiring of love. So they become an expression and shine their light into the world because they have found their light in the non-physical sense. So the light is shining outwards. Those in need can find a way to go. So the spiritual lighthouse draws people towards it, and the physical lighthouse will draw or push people away from where they are, to avoid rocks or danger. So when one is a true lighthouse, in a spiritual sense, one is just shining their light. There is no requirement and no essence. They just shine the light, and those in need will come. It's often referred to as SAT, S-A-T, meaning truth or light, if you want. And so the true teaching then happens in an expression of light or truth, which may involve words and may not involve words. So one must be that light. So it goes back to my opening talk, where true healing is one who just holds the light and others come to meet you in the light. It connects also to the question of Dave about how to heal. You say the name more than once. And Christina's Kundalini energy holding light, removing the blocks to it, let the light shine and feeling the energy around. The empath who finds the light and the narcissist who wants to own it. The limitation of light or the full expression in all their day. All are lighthouses. The one who is true to being a lighthouse. It doesn't do it for itself. And in truth, the expression of light is not necessarily for the other. It is just a reminder of home. And for a brief time, one comes and sits in home. And others can stay a while or as long as they wish. To the one who wishes to be that purity of lighthouse must be the channel and has worked through their difficulties and just to shine light, because that is the truth. Not for 1 hour. Truth isn't turned off at the end, but for all time. So if you find a spiritual being that you would like to work with, are they the light? Or are they only the light for 1 hour? Are they humble? Are they giving? Do they ask for little in return because it is just the light? Do you understand, Les?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Yes, I agree with that.
Well, then my time is done. So it appears we are now on a break until mid-July. Just because there is a break, it does not mean that the light has been turned off. If you wish, I will be there. You but need to open to light yourself. Until you hear my voice again. God bless you all.